Welcome to the Unidentified Celebrity Review. I think we have all the technical issues squared away for the week, and we'll be starting here in just a couple minutes. First, I have a question for all of you. How much do you know about turtles? Some say it's turtles all the way down. Others say that mutant varieties live in our sewers. I like turtles, but I can't vouch for those facts. But it is true that giant tortoises were a bit like UAP back in the 16th century. Scientists heard rumors of their existence, but they remained unstudied. The Royal Scientific Institute would not give them a proper scientific name until 300 years after their first reports of these giants. But unlike UAP, it wasn't due to disbelief. It was because the explorers in charge of capturing these specimens for study, they were sailors venturing out on dangerous journeys, and they could not resist eating the giant tortoises on these long, treacherous journey home. Apparently, they were delicious, irresistible. None ever made it back to study. Thus, the giant tortoise remained unknown to science. And we're kind of in the same position now with UAP. No, I don't think anyone is out there. Scientists are looking to actually study. And while I do think we should push back on scientific dismissal, it's unclear what most scientists can currently do to help out. I think we need more explorers. The frontiers are different now. Space, consciousness, AI-related skywatching, FOIA battles. We need to be able to bring what so many have seen and so many more believe to the doorstep of science. And it won't be easy. I try to dig into some of these frontiers on my channel, Rather Be Squidding. When you're in an inquisitive mood, head on over there and check out some of my videos. But now, it's time to explore. The ship is about to take off, and it's packed with an amazing crew. Let's hear of this voyage of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Luis Jimenez and Michael Mataluni.
What is going on?
What is up, brother? It was rather a little choppy there.
It was a little choppy for me, but I thought it might have been my internet. But I was completely fascinated by this turtle story because I didn't realize. I've always thought that turtles would be like in an apocalypse, like they come in their own bowl, right? So it's like the perfect thing.
Turtles all the way down, yeah.
They come in their own bowl, Luis.
I just immediately thought of that 90s viral video, The Turtle Kid, where he just like I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was like rather remembers, where it's like this news reporter's like, so what do you love about the fair? And the kid's like, I like turtles.
Oh, I
it's
do
just
remember
like
that.
just like 1,000-yard stares right into the camera, like it was the weirdest thing. So yeah, he became like one of the first memes was that kid. Okay, so rather. We'll see you in a little bit because I think you're a bit choppy. So maybe come back, pop out.
I think you're right. I'll check that out.
And pop back in. And then if you need a code, I'm watching the messages, so don't worry. I'll get you back in here.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name's Luis Jimenez. This gentleman to my, would be left, Michael Mataluni. Welcome back to another episode. We got a really great show in store for you guys today. Before we get there, don't forget, the show is sponsored by BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. A lot of you might be asking, what's with the the saltwater fishing tackle sponsor. It's my dad. He bought the microphones and he helps produce the show. So there you go. If you're into saltwater fishing, go check them out. And then, of course, all of the music is provided by DOS Tapes, and their Bandcamp link is also in the description below, so go check them out as well if you're digging the tunes. With all of that out of the way, well, no, actually, we got a couple more things. Check out our Patreon. Check out the links in the description below. There's ways to support the show. We do the show 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, so it's hard to do that with full-time jobs. So if you want to help relieve the full-time aspect of this from the other job, please do us a favor. Check out the Patreon. It's a great way to support. We're essentially a public access channel, so every dollar that you spend goes directly toward improving the show and helping us get away from our full-time jobs. Right, Michael?
That's it, man.
That's it.
And also, if you're in for a real train wreck of a show yesterday, come check. Actually, it's funny because I actually got a ton of positive feedback, but that I sweat more yesterday for that show than I think I've sweat for any show to date. But it was a blast.
Yeah, man, that was a fun show. There was a lot of people in there. Anyway, go watch it if you want to see it.
Geller bending spoons to anti-gravity to it was wild.
It was absolutely wild, but it was fun. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Hello, Jack, Sanu, Witness, Citizen, who had just a killer interview with Lou Elizondo this week. We'll be touching on that a little bit in the second hour. Jack Hetfield, Interference, Joe, Avi, Gelrick, all of you guys, Greg O'Brien. I'm sorry if I'm missing some names, but we got to get going with the show. Jack Ryan, there he is. That's my favorite. Not my favorite. I'm kidding. I don't want to do that to people. Rather's backstage. He's here. Okay, so Michael, would you like to introduce our guest?
We've got an amazing guest. Yeah, absolutely. We've got an amazing guest. Mr. Zac Cichy is here. He is a dad, fiance, and weirdo, and host of At Project Human FM. I'm so thrilled. I've spent a lot of time kind of chatting with this gentleman on Twitter. Never had an opportunity for a face-to-face. So, Zac, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I saw that you tweeted out earlier, and I guess I never thought about this, but you really don't do this a lot. So I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I know it took me a little while to get you on here. I was like, I wonder.
Oh, life. But it's been probably about 5 to 7 years since I did a live thing. So this is really a different.
Wow. You see? This is why you got to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because you're going to get stuff like this all the time.
That's right.
That was a happy accident. I honestly didn't know it was that long. But I'll take credit for it. Tune in. Ring the bell. Okay, so Zac, dude, there's so many places I want to start with you, but I think the thing where I was introduced to you was your interview with Lou Elizondo. Okay. That was the first interview I'd ever heard that you'd done, and then I've been hooked ever since. But the thing that really, really struck me, and the thing that it's one of the interviews I always point towards when people want to learn more about this, because of the vulnerability of the episode. I don't know if there's a lot of folks out here that know the story about your mom, how you got into this. If you can. Sort of run us through that, because Michael, do you know this story?
I have no, I don't.
Okay, yeah. So this is amazing, and this is how he prefaced his entire conversation with Lou Elizondo. So I thought it was just a beautiful thing. So if you can, Zac, if you could walk us through that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, the way that I got into this is kind of complicated in that, like so many people, I grew up with this. So I was surrounded by UFO and conspiracy and esoteric lore pretty much growing up my entire life. We lived out in the middle of the woods too. This is something I didn't mention to Lou, but was very isolated. I lived in Upper Preston, Washington, and literally my house was this A-frame house out in the middle of nowhere, where I have a lot of strange memories from that house. And, so my mom was super into all things weird, paranormal, and whatever. And, that had a pretty profound impact on me growing up. I used to stay up with her late at night listening to Art Bell. She would let me listen, it would start at 9 p.m. and then end at 2 a.m. or whatever. And I would be up with her, talking to her about this stuff. And, you know.
And at what age were you when you listening to Art Bell with your mom?
Oh, gosh. Starting at like age 8, 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got the really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
that's when the Art Bell stuff hit. I mean, before that, she was, you know, she was wearing down a copy of the movie Communion all the time. That was on, right?
Wow.
The adaptation of Whitley Strieber's book, and she always had a copy of the book Communion at her bedside. She reread that book over and over and over again. So, you know, I knew about Roswell. I knew, you know, in 1995 when the alien autopsy stuff happened, right? Like, I thought as a kid growing up, like, disclosure was just a thing that was going to happen, like, soon in my lifetime. And I just took it as a fact that all these things were real, you know? That said, I think it's worth noting that, like, that had a really positive impact on me in that I grew up with an open mind. But on the other hand, there were definitely ways that had a negative impact on me. I grew up kind of terrified.
Yeah, I was gonna say like playing Whitley Strieber's Communion at 8 years old, that all the time would be terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Like I remember just like my dad's first introduction to a fishing movie was Jaws. I was 7 years old. But he didn't replay it over and over and over. Like, it wasn't like his favorite film. That was Scarface. That was a completely different flick. But, but yeah, that's pretty wild.
Right. And we didn't have cable. We just had, like, you know, two channels that came in over the air. And we had a VCR. And, you know, we would play movies over and over and over again. So I saw Communion, I mean, probably hundreds of times, you know, as a kid. It was just one of the tapes that we had. And my mom absolutely loved that movie. She always had it on, you know. So that amongst many other things, you know, the movie Roswell, starring Kyle MacLachlan. That was another movie we had. We watched that over and over again. You know, the mythology of the metal that you know, came from the crash site and all that, right?
Yeah. There was another one, right? Did you ever watch that one flick? Because I feel like we're the same age, so all of those movies that you're saying are really hitting home to me.
Fire in the Sky.
It's Fire in the Sky, but there was also one about Hangar 18.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, okay. That one was pretty decent. So yeah, that was all about the Roswell crash and where they hit it and sort of the Jesse Marcel story, essentially.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. So, to say the least, I was steeped in this world of you know, the way that I put it to Lou is like some people grow up with Christianity or they grow up with religion or whatever. I grew up, you know, the only organizing principle that I had was this esoteric kind of weird stuff, which made me a little bit bizarre to you know, kids in school, because this is the stuff I would talk about. I would print out documents of, like, you know, the MJ-12 stuff or the alien autopsy stuff while that was going down. I remember having this conversation with one of my best friends on the school bus, being like, "Hey, have you seen this? It's really cool." And I showed him pictures of, like, the alien autopsy video. And this kid was like, "Yeah, that's really cool." He took it and he took it home to his parents. And then he got back to me the next day and he said, "I can't be friends with you anymore."
Wow. Because he told his parents. His parents were like, you can't.
His parents said that's demonic, and you can't be friends with that kid anymore.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's like, and that's sort of, not to stop the story here, but it does, it really brings me right back to this moment I had during this UFO live broadcast they had on Discovery Channel, where my goddaughter was scared. She was legitimately, like, worried, like, are we going to be invaded? Yada, yada. And so I cannot imagine her having to go to school with that that thought process already implanted into the way she thinks. So she's applying that as an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old to math. She's applying it to science. She's applying it to when she reads. She's applying it to social interactions at lunchtime or on the playground. And for a kid, I think that's a real hard switch to turn off. At least it was for me too. But what the difference was, though, is I got into it myself as opposed to having that adult influence that was pointing me in that direction. Like I found Art Bell and Coast to Coast AM when I was maybe 11 years old on my own, listening, just looking for stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I could understand from a psychological standpoint, sort of the next part of the chapter of the story here, but yeah, continue please. Cause I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, so, as I grew up, to make kind of a very long story short, there's lots of things I could get into here, but that, the way that, maybe you grow up Christian and maybe you start to kind of rebel against that over time. I had the same kind of moment with this esoteric stuff that my mom believed in. And as I grew up, I became more and more skeptical, hyper skeptical. I would say, Mom, like, how would this work? Exactly. So all the governments are in on it. I'm like, Mom, we've been listening to Art Bell for all these years. That he had the metal that was supposed to be analyzed. Where'd that go? Oh, it didn't go anywhere. We had the alien autopsy. It was a hoax. We had all these things that happened over and over and over again that were going to be like the moment where this was all confirmed. I'd tell her, like, how would this work exactly? This doesn't make any sense. How can all the world governments be in on it? How can we keep a secret this profound, right? And I became more and more skeptical all the way up until 2016, when she sadly, very abruptly passed away.
Right.
And we continue to have these conversations all the way up to when she passed away. And a year later, I'm reading the New York Times.
Right.
And this ATIP story comes out. And where a lot of people, I think, were curious, or they were elated, or they had all these different emotions. I just had anger. I was like pissed off. And the reason I was pissed off on a multitude of levels. I was pissed off that my mom was not alive to see this. And I was pissed off that I felt as though the U.S. government was now gaslighting me.
Right.
By not commenting on it, right? By or commenting on it up to a point, but then not really clarifying, not really explaining. I kept waiting after the ATIP story came out. I kept waiting, like, sooner or later, some representatives or officials, they're going to throw cold water all over this and it will kind of go away, like it always has, right? That's what I knew growing up, is that there was always cold water thrown at this and then it goes away. That didn't happen. What we've seen over the last several years has been this building and honestly a fanning of the smoke by ex-officials and current officials, right? And there's a part of me that's really angry about that, because my mom was so into this stuff. Yeah. And she, and I argued with her vehemently, like, there's nothing to it, towards the end of her life. And here I am now in 2021 asking the same questions that she did. And I am angry about it, because I do feel as though we are being kind of gaslit. The American people are being gaslit by this entire story. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there for whom, that how aware you are of all the things that have to do with this subject, that varies quite considerably. You've got everyone between UFO Twitter, people like us, to people that watch Ancient Aliens and go for David Wilcock, right? Right. And here's the thing. What the government is currently doing by not clarifying the situation is they are feeding all of the whole spectrum of people that have sort of like a choose your own adventure theory, right? This is like the ultimate confirmation of any bias that you might have. And that side of things is frankly, it's irresponsible, and it's kind of dangerous, and this is something that I bring up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's something I literally had this epiphany the other day, speaking about this exact subject, and I think I tweeted it out, and I was like, if you are withholding information. You're literally creating the space for charlatans to thrive and create more myths and disinformation. Like you're literally provoking, a dangerous ideologies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's hard. I kind of walk a line in terms of like how I personally think about this stuff versus things that I say on Twitter, things I say on my show. It's hard. I can bring on Lou Elizondo on my show, and I can completely understand, given the story that he's given, all the things that we verified about him. Like, it seems as though this man is completely sincere. He doesn't want to be a whistleblower. He doesn't want to be the Edward Snowden of the world, right? And I get that. But there's a part of me that's like,
say it.
This has been going on, man, for 70 fucking years. Can I swear on your show?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it is YouTube.
Sorry.
We don't have the FCC coming down our throat, but if we curse too much, we get demonetized.
70.
So
you get 2 F words per hour.
Is that the rule?
No, I just made that up.
So, I feel like it is.
Yeah, and it's like Lou's got a family. Like, like I get it. Like he doesn't. I get the repercussions of crossing that line. Where I kind of come at this from, in terms of my inner personal sort of anger about it, though, is that, man, how many people have lived and died researching this stuff without answers? It's really, really infuriating when you frame it that way. And Lou even told me, he said something along the lines of like, when he personally believed that when you die, it's like you get answers.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say this to him, but it's like, for me, man, that's not enough.
Right.
Yeah. Especially
Totally
coming from his shoes, because I don't want to say he has all the answers, but man, he's got a much bigger window into the answers than we do. And it's a question I kind of have for him. I don't know if anybody's asked this, but maybe you guys have heard this question asked to him. But the idea of, if you were me, if you were in our shoes, how would you feel about this? What direction would you go in? Because I think I'd like to hear him answer that, just because, I want to know, well, I don't know if I'd be as adamant. Would he be as adamant as us? Would he be starting a podcast, and telling people about this?
I think I can tell you what he would say. Just based on really carefully analyzing the way that he answers questions and stuff, I think he would say, I relate to what you're saying. Totally, yeah, I would be pissed off. I'd be angry. And then he would say, but I've got to think about my family, and I've got to think about me. And at the end of the day, I can only do what I can do. And then he would say, if I break this trust, right, how can you trust me at all? Right? He gives these sort of these pat answers to things. And I get it. I totally get it. But there's no way to really resolve that. There's no way to really square this, right? There's always going to be this tension between people like me who've had loved ones live and die researching this subject. And for us, it's like, this is the most important thing. Yeah,
it's personal.
Yeah.
Deeply personal.
Well, it's hard to, and I don't know, I mean, like I was talking about this with Mike the other day, it's hard to differentiate, especially if you've had an experience. And I don't know, Zac, have you had an experience?
See, I want to answer that like Lou Elizondo answers it.
Yeah. I feel like you answered it. Well, okay, well, I'll tell you.
I'd have to take you to Guantanamo Bay.
Well, okay, well, I guess let me start here, and then you can decide. I'll give you some time to think about it.
Okay.
So I've had an experience. It happened to me when I was 13, right? It wasn't a close encounter where I saw beings or anything, but the craft was less than 200 yards away. It was pretty clear. And also, I was at a party, adults saw it, so it was an event. And it's difficult, but I have to dissect that belief, that experience from the discussion. Because I can't take that belief or that experience and slap it on the table of a senator or a congressman or someone or a lawmaker, someone who's going to advance the discussion forward. It's so hard. It's so hard to not say it's definitely alien or it's definitely this or it's definitely that. The truth is I definitely don't know. And as I've gotten older, I've had to sort of, because again, this is 13 years old. So I spent from 13 to, to basically 2017 convinced it's real. To a point anyway, but then I would hear Neil deGrasse Tyson and his sort of explanation of the human brain and how it changes facts and it's the worst record keeper ever, things like that. But I know it was a real event. There's no doubt about that just because I stay in contact with one person, at least one person from the event. But it's important that the believers, the experiencers, have to give a little. They don't have to do anything, first of all, but they have to at least hopefully consider that trying to, and it's hard to do, trying to compartmentalize your experience, your knowledge from everyone else's experience and knowledge, because they're going to be vastly different from yours. So you have to give them the opportunity to catch up, to then understand your experience, and then move the discussion forward. Because I feel like right now you've got people on the 80-yard line that are in a 100-yard race, and everyone else is literally just started. It's literally the gun has just gone off, and they're just like, come on, get here, Jesus, I only gotta run 20 yards and we're at the finish line. So like that frustration, that anger, I could sense it in the people in the chat. I sensed it when you were talking to Lou, so how do you, and you don't have to answer if you've experienced something, because I understand also as just like a journalist or someone who's trying to present a credible thing that you want to leave that out of it. Me personally, I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell it. Like, it doesn't matter. But then again, I'm not going to take my experience to a senator. That I'm not doing, so I feel like I can do that. But I mean, what are your feelings?
It's a bigger question than you might think for me. So, there's a few things there. I mentioned that when I grew up, I lived in this A-frame house out in the middle of the woods. Right. A lot of bizarre things happened. And, the way that I've described it privately with people in the past is like, it's like, have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch? Well, imagine all of that at a house, right? Like, I have memories that I don't know what to do with, is essentially the thing. And I've seen my fair share of weird stuff in the sky, and I've experienced my fair share of bizarre things, not just UFO, that I can't explain, that I don't know really what to do with. And I've had some of those things recently. But there's a difficulty for me where I had the influence of my mom growing up. Right. And there's a lot of memories that I just don't know what to do with. I'll listen to Mick West talk about, the memory of kids and how it's pretty plastic, and you can kind of, retroactively infer certain things that maybe they're not real, right? I don't know. I got to talk to a therapist. But it's. I
think everybody does.
Yeah,
it's very good idea. Yes.
All of America needs a therapist. That's for sure.
100%.
I'll tell you this. I was trying to sort of avoid the conversation about experiencers or my own experiences. I've been trying to do that, but the more I've been doing that, the more I feel kind of like I'm lying. Like I'm lying to myself and I'm lying to everybody else. The truth is I do put a lot of stock in that stuff, because I've had my own fair share of things happen to me, and I know a lot of people that I absolutely believe that have had things happen to them. The complicated bit is what are we trying to do here? It's like, are we trying to get the government to tell us what they know?
Yeah.
How much does that matter?
Right. And is it a matter of personal validation versus what's best for humanity? And I think that's the most difficult question to answer for any of us, especially if we have a personal connection to it. Because, I'm not one of those people who thinks that the world's going to burn down if people know that the UFOs are here, or if that we're being visited by extraterrestrials. But I am one of the people who thinks, well, okay, how are we going to present this? In what way are we going to present this so that we create the best outcome for the most people? That's the hardest part for me to figure out.
Yeah. Well, and much like our government, my brain is very compartmentalized about this. It's like, here's this over here, and here's this over here, and these two things are never going to talk to each other, which isn't a healthy situation, by the way.
But it's pretty normal. I mean, you have an analytical brain, you have an emotional brain. I mean, we all are dealing with that every single day, so it's pretty normal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, it's a really complicated question. I, at one point, went really, when I first joined UFO Twitter and I went public, by the way, previous to all this, I was into tech. I was like a tech pundit. I had a show called The Menu Bar where I talked about Apple stuff all the time, right? And I kind of decloaked out of that, and then started to come forward like, I'm really into UFOs, guys. This is what I really want to be talking. I had alluded to it on my prior show over and over again, and then I finally was just like, I'm gonna do it. This is the thing I really want to be talking about is UFOs.
Hey, Witness Citizen wants to know what you're drinking.
Right. Well, so I had a White Claw. That already happened. Now I'm on an Angry Orchard crisp apple. So.
Ooh, you like the sweet stuff. You're a sweet guy.
It's all I got in the house, to be honest. Normally I go for like an IPA. I'm all out of IPAs, so.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. But anyway, look, it's a really complicated thing. When I came onto UFO Twitter, I went in with all of that past, all of that anger that had been building for years. And I kind of came in and I'm kind of like guns blazing. I'm going to disentangle this whole fucking thing. I'm going to figure this out.
I'm going to fix this for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's the way I came into it a little bit too. I was like, I'm going to review these films and movies and tell people what's wrong about them. But you can't. You can't.
So what I wanted to do, and I think there's still value in this idea, what I wanted to do was, what can we verify? What can we 100% verify? And what do we have to throw out or throw in the gray box? Okay. Right. What we can verify are officials who've commented. We can verify documents. We can verify pilot witness testimony of certain events, right? There's these things that we can verify. And there's this whole other smorgasbord of things that when it gets involved, it muddies the waters and makes the conversation difficult. So like why I've had to compartmentalize a lot of maybe my personal reasons for being in this versus everything else has been because I don't know how else to make the conversation go forward. Having studied all of this, I can tell you what has not worked has been mixing these things together so far, right? I'm not saying it can't work, but mixing the Bob Lazars and the Whitley Strieber's of the world with the Dietrichs and the Fravers and the Elizondos, that trying to mix these things together doesn't seem
like oil and water.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to elicit results. We didn't get this report out of the government because Bob Lazar came forward. Right. We got this report out of the government because Fravor came forward, because all of these Nimitz witnesses came forward, right?
Well, that and also, Senator Harry Reid just bugging the shit out of the Department of the Defense. Like, he wouldn't stop. He kept sending letters, and eventually they were like, all right, old man, Jesus, here's your budget. Go do whatever it is you want to do. And he's like, great. And then he ran and he got Lou Elizondo and he got, Bob Bigelow, and they went to town. Dude, I mean, he's a big part of it. But real quick, Zac, before we continue, let's reset the room real quick. Let's tell everybody who's here. And I've got Jamarl Thomas. It looks like he's on the set of John Wick 4. The dude could easily be playing John Wick right now. Okay. He's got the pit bulls in the back. He's got the glasses on. He's dressed in black. I mean, dude looks like he's driving a Camaro from 1984. I love it. Okay, so let's we'll bring him in because I really want to get these two guys together because now we're starting to talk about muddying waters and sort of how to detangle this. I mean, do we want to call it a mess or just? Here's better. Yeah. It's an extreme, and it ties into the sponsor. It's a fishing knot. Okay, it's like it's a tanglement in your reel that you have to undo. Right there, you go. BlueMountainChronicles.com. Michael.
For those of you just joining us, thank you so much. Make sure if you are saying hello for the first time, you click the subscribe button, hit the bell, make sure you get notified anytime we go live. We've got an amazing guest for you today, a bunch of amazing guests. Right now we're talking to Zac Cichy, creator of Project Human FM. And by the way, your catalog of podcasts, bro, is just incredible. Like it's
Thank you.
Like chef's kiss, top notch. If you want to find some great content from really amazing people, make sure you check out Project Human. We've also got Jamarl Thomas, who's going to be joining us here maybe right now. Would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Straight off the set of John Wick 7. Thank you so much, Jamarl.
We just lost him as we brought him in. Dude, this has been a technical nightmare week.
All week. Long.
I mean, your computer's fried twice today. Jamarl just got knocked out of the chat. But then again, I can understand Jamarl because he's on the road. It might not work. But let's see. He just popped. Okay, let's see.
Hopefully we can. For those of you who don't know Jamarl Thomas, he's on the air in Washington, D.C. He's also got an amazing YouTube channel. He's a political analyst with a fascination toward the UFO topic and the relationship between UAP phenomenon and the federal government and what we're doing to release information on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Doesn't look like we're having some luck with him. So hang with us, Jamarl. Try to get back in.
If anything, cut your video.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and continue with Zac here. So I wanted to stay with the conversation we're having, Zac. So if you could kind of maybe let's pick up where we left off. Where was that?
Where were we?
Well, we were talking about we were talking about sort of why you when you first came into this, right? Trying to detangle, trying to sift through the bullshit and the good stuff.
Yeah, so I went
What's verifiable?
And I made a lot of enemies, man. So I got blocked by, I'm not joking you, probably over 80% of UFO Twitter. I mean,
really?
I was very abrasive. I was like, George Knapp, give us the freaking answers. Yeah, I'm blocked still by George Knapp, actually.
But UFO Twitter is only like 100 people with like 10,000 alibis, right? I mean, we've got.
I mean, it's more than 100.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but there are a lot of sock puppet accounts out there.
Yeah, I mean, so I was coming at this like very like this is the evidence we're focusing on. This is the stuff that matters. Here's the crap that we got to throw away. Here's the questions we need to be asking. I kept like hammering on, and I still continue to do so.
Yeah.
No journalist has really dug into the Stars Academy and the origins, right? Like General Neil McCaslin. This was something I was really harping on. Like, someone go talk to the guy, for the love of God. He's all over the WikiLeaks emails. You know, Tom is claiming, like, anyway, that's a whole.
Wait, what did Tom claim about him?
Tom, you know, he went on many interviews talking about how the general, you know, fed him all this information.
Oh, this was the general. Okay, the one who originally sat down with him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was the Cold War, and we found a life form. All that whole mythology, it all boils down to this guy named General Neil McCaslin. And the WikiLeaks emails confirm that it was Neil McCaslin who Tom was referring to as the general all over these interviews, right? And clearly this is something that nobody wanted to get out. But, you know, thanks to WikiLeaks, and, you know, you can have your opinions about it, whatever, but it's out there. It's in the public. And it's been insane to me. Like, nobody would go and just get a comment or even a no comment from General Neil McCaslin. I can't do it. I'm not a journalist, right? So I've harped on every journalist I could find, like, go talk to this guy.
Do you think nobody will do it, or they're just not able to get in touch? Is he a private guy?
More on this next week.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay. A little tease. The next week's show that you were working on last night.
We'll see. I'm There are people who are talking.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
Well, okay. So then.
So anyway, I had to take a long break from UFO Twitter because I was clearly not in a healthy place. I was just sort of pissing everybody off, and I took a very long break where I thought a lot about like what is it I'm doing here. And when I came back, I came back with a much more open, like trying to be skeptical, trying to be critical thinker about this stuff, but then also be open, not just go after people. Like I was saying, like Chris Bledsoe, why should we believe him? You know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I realized like none of that was productive. You know, and I've actually since apologized to all of the people, including Lou Elizondo. I did it on my show. I apologized to him. I was like, I called you a jackass. I'm sorry. But let me frame why I said that, right? You know, and to his credit, he was like, yeah, no, I totally get it, you know. So
why did you call him a jackass? What was the framing there?
You know, the reason I was angry because here's a guy like, yeah, sure. It's like you have your secrets and then you want to protect your family and you want to protect your own well-being, but
you were pissed you had the info.
I'm pissed off and so are countless people, right? It's like why do you fight in a war? Well, you do it to protect everybody, right?
Right.
You're risking your life, right? And from my perspective, when you're talking about people who fought in wars, right? I get it from a policy perspective. It's like you're breaking the law, but on the other hand, like what's more important here, right? He clearly believes in the truth, but I've since calmed down. I totally understand where Lou Elizondo is coming from. If it were me in those shoes, I probably would have to make the exact same set of decisions that he's made, and I totally get it. But yeah, that's why initially when he came out and when all these other people came out, I was just like, come on, are we pretending that this all started in 2004 with the Nimitz incident? Are we pretending that ATIP was the only program? You know, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's first of all, that's why I love the interview, because you didn't, and that's why I was so vulnerable and so good, because you were so honest about it. You know, it was just like, look, I'm coming from this place of, I'm pissed because my mom should have seen this. Yeah. My mom should have been here for this. And I think that's where your anger really, really stems from. And so you lashed out because you're looking at all this and you're going, probably part of you's going, this is fucking awesome, but the other part is going, why isn't my mom here? Like, why isn't she? Why did you guys wait this goddamn long to give us this?
Am I gonna die before getting answers too?
Right.
Are my kids gonna have to die before getting answers too? You know, because if there is something to this, as Elizondo, Eric Davis, et cetera, as all these people have alluded to, if there really truly is something to this, and it is what they have alluded or directly said. I mean, Eric Davis has literally said, it's aliens. There's been crashes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like that's a suppression of science, man. Like that's a serious problem. It's like our government has been stonewalling science. That's a big problem. And for skeptics out there, let's say it's not true. Let's say these people are all full of crap. I don't think they are. But if they are, that's still a huge story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an enormous story. Yeah. Real quick, speaking of huge story, let's bring in journalist Jamarl Thomas. Let's see if this works. All right. Here we go. Jamarl, can you hear us, sir?
I can hear you. What's going on, man? Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Wow, that is ridiculously clear. I thought I was going to have to mute you between words because you're in a car, but damn, that sounds great. You did say this.
Well, I told you I had good sound quality in the car. So yeah.
You did, man. Wow, excellent. Okay, so I mean, you've heard most of the conversation, Jamarl. So I love the dogs that are in there, by the way. Excellent. Seriously, this is all. Just please, whatever you do, don't get killed by Russian assassins. Okay, don't lose the family to Russian assassins and then have to turn this into a franchise. So
it would be your highest viewership.
Yeah, if Russian assassins came to kill Jamarl Thomas, I mean, I don't know if I'd be totally enthralled by it or terrified, but but do you think the views would be through the roof. I mean, we would probably get a lot of actually, you know what? If there are any Russian mobs out there, I believe Jamarl Thomas is on I-95 heading north. He's around the Jersey Turnpike, exit 44B. So, well, okay. So I know you've been listening in the back patiently. So dude, let's bring you in here. Did you hear Zac's story? Sort of what was going down with that, and sort of where his anger stems from?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. The anger part, I thought it was interesting. I never really had anger. My thing was always curiosity. Like my thing was just ferocious, remorseless. Terrifying to my wife, curiosity. It was that. Like, my thing was, I want to know. I don't want to believe. I want to know.
Right.
And the difference in those things. And so, but from the standpoint of the argumentation towards Congress, yeah, I agree with you. It can't be cut from the standpoint of experience. In fact, they don't even, like Elizondo and those guys, they don't want to bring that stuff up. Like, they don't want to talk about what's in the crash. Their thing is, hey, we just have a question here that needs to be answered. And I think that's probably the way it has to be done. I mean, I know a lot of people in the UFO community didn't like the UFO report, but the UFO report gave you confirmation, something that never has taken place. And from the standpoint of confirmation, your government starts to move in ways that starts to acknowledge, even whether or not scientists jump on board yet. And, you know, so I think I agree with this point about, like, all of this stuff that comes up, and it's like, all right, how does this stuff, because my thing is always, you've just put a paradigm shifting thing on the table. I don't buy the skeptics argument in this case. I don't even know how they can make an argument. I mean, basically, the one case, I would say Fravor's case by itself is, in and of itself, should be enough to just, where people are just screaming for that. I mean, Elizondo alluded to the notion that there's video of it, so there's that. You have multiple witnesses that are in the aircraft, so there's that part. People who we pay billions for their training. Are we going to say that these brave men and women are just liars or just got it wrong and incompetent? I don't think so. And so, you have that one specific case. Like I said, I only need one. I only need one to make the proof. And I only need questions out there. Meaning, yes, there's a there there. And the fact that there's a there there, what do you want to say? It's us or not us. It's a breaking of our paradigm. And so a lot of people, I don't think, have reconciled what is added to the table. Because you make a really good point about, what about abductions? What about those people? And the government not coming clean. By the way, whether the government comes clean or not, it's not going to do anything to stem the various narratives. It's going to be just like politics. Did Donald Trump win in a landslide? Yeah or nay? Did it stop 30% of the population from believing that he did? No. And so it's not meaning the government, you're right, that the government not coming clean allows this kind of space for the talk and everything else. But the more ingrained this issue gets the normal politics and the normal reality of things, the more you're going to get people setting up contrary narratives to what the government comes out with. In fact, of the matter is, the government has made that worse because it's lied for 80 years. And so it's that. It's like, hey, we lied for 80 years, but trust us now. You can trust us now. And I got to be honest, I like Elizondo, but I don't necessarily trust him any more than anybody else. I mean, because I think they're releasing some information. The catch becomes, okay, what aren't they releasing? Meaning, even if we get an idea of the reality, there's still a lot of that reality that we don't know. And honestly, we don't even know what we don't know, meaning we don't know even if they're being straightforward in what they release. I mean, government. And what's going to end up happening is the government is going to have a narrative. It's not a story. The people a particular story. But is it the reality of it? I don't know. Reality is different. So no, and I appreciate this notion that some people are going to scream aliens ate these babies. It's going to be that. They're going to be people screaming I was abducted. And what we might find out is that the truth is a little bit weirder than I think we may think. I mean, we don't know. Well, we're in the dark. I think it's that. And from my standpoint, the position I always take is there's a question that needs to be answered. And that's the thrust of the push. To me, that's the push. Meaning everything else that falls out of it, all of the paradigm stuff. People are saying abductions. People are saying, well, consciousness plays a part into it. People who are saying, like the Whitley Strieber, I think you mentioned. Whitley Strieber's story is terrifying. But Whitley Strieber is a really good storyteller. And like you say, how does that reconcile with Dietrich and Elizondo, et cetera? And it doesn't, at least not now. I got to be honest. The only thing all of that stuff is interesting to me because I've read about all that stuff. But to me, the biggest thing right now is nailing down reality. And right now, it's like, it's real, but it's not real. Like, it's not real in a way that lungs to air is real. It's real in a sense of this kind of, the government is extended realness to it. But we need something else to blow, I guess you could say, the lid off of reality. And I'm not even sure that's what they want. I mean, you're not going to have any politician that comes out screaming aliens, even if they believe it's aliens. I mean, Mitt Romney's statement, for example. Romney says, it's not Russia, it's not China. I don't know if it's aliens. And it's like, Romney, you've taken everything off the table. You have to add, you can't just clear the table like that. You have to engage in that. And I think that's the public. I think the public is at the point of, okay, this is real. All right, I have to feed myself. I have to get lunch this evening. I have to get blah, 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 blah. It's not paradigm shifting real. Not yet.
So,
not yet.
But do you think it gets into paradigm shifting real arena when was that you, Michael? Was that you, Michael? Get your goddamn hands off the mouse. No, when do you think congressional hearings would be that event?
Yes.
And if so,
kind of.
Okay.
Because what they're going to do is they're probably going to say, okay, we need another study. Because the problem is, you can't have a report like the Director of National Intelligence report and say, okay, that's it. Because you basically established there's something in us guys. It's technology. We don't know what it is. It breaks our paradigm, and it's doing things we can't explain, and we don't know what it does. We need more money for research. We need more investigation. We need to get rid of the giggle factor. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is.
Well, and then you think,
like that, right?
Well, I was gonna say, do you think on the congressional list of things to ask or to like sort of the bullet points of things to get done during this congressional hearing, getting rid of the giggle factor, would that be a bullet point?
Yeah, I mean it was even in the report as an issue.
Yeah.
Like in the report, it made explicit point of saying, we have to get rid of this notion of this being like the issue is serious, it's real. And that giggle factor inhibits scientific research and investigation into it. I mean, they went so far as to say, 2 weeks? Stories have to be given over to either the task force or something like that so it can correlate information. And so, yes, I think the government is trying to do that. I think the reports that are coming out of the newspaper are trying to do that. I think congressional hearings, but here's the catch. No politician could withstand a political fallout to screaming aliens. Hence, Mitt Romney coming up with the illogical statement of everything is off the table. Like, it's that nonsense. And so what you're going to do is they need this diffusion of, let's say, responsibility or diffusion of, responsibility. And so instead of one individual coming out and saying something where they can be attacked, you can have an organization of 10, a coalition of 10, or what is that, the 5 congressmen or whatever they call themselves. And then you have 10, 15 people, and they would investigate, and they would come out with a report. And that way you don't have any one individual coming out taking the hit for something that they may be saying. What you will get is kind of diffusion of, I'm going to call it responsibility. And so you'll get that. And so I think congressional hearings on some level gives you that over and over and over again without any one individual congressional member coming out and taking the hit and fall up for saying they're aliens. I think it's that. I mean, even like the conversation with Jake Tapper, when he asked Romney, Jake Tapper was like, yeah, we have to take this seriously now. You're telling us that our defense bases are being willfully invaded, and we can't do anything against it. What Ratcliffe went so far as to say, we're powerless against it. Powerless. Can't do anything. We don't know how it works or anything like that. And these are spaces, we spend $1 trillion a year for our military, and that's what we know of. That's the part that's not in the black. And so it's like, wait, we spend $1 trillion, that's 9 times more than pretty much every other nation combined, the majority of which are our allies, and you're telling us that money doesn't buy us security. So what have you been doing to inhibit this action? What is this? What nation has this technology? How did they get this technology? How long have they had this technology that you've known about it? Have you alerted the president? Have you alerted Congress? I mean, there's all sorts of questions that fall out just immediately from this. And that doesn't even get into the heavier elements of, okay, now that you've opened this door or opened this box, there's a lot of stuff that's in this box that you said didn't exist. But now that it does exist, okay, now we have questions. And those questions, people are going to say abductions. People are going to already mentioning abductions, cattle mutilations, that's already coming out. Greer's film goes so far as to say that they're hiring handicapped people with deformities to scare the shit out of other people to make them think that abductions are aliens. Basically framing aliens for abductions by using and paying deformed people to do it. I mean, like, this is the stuff. Oh, by the way, in order to hoax a false flag attack on the world, like, all of this stuff immediately comes up because the government is in the last 80 years.
Well, and this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. This idea that you're going to, you're going to gaslight the American people. You're going to hold back the information because we know it's best for you. We know that you can't handle the truth.
Well,
so we're going to gaslight you. What's that?
What if they're doing it for a reason? That's the catch.
What
if it's for a reason? That's the wild card. But we don't know.
But we don't know. But my point, Jamarl, is that in the not knowing, we leave the door open for charlatans to do exactly what you're saying, for conspiracy theorists, for all of these people to come out and create all of these insane theories in order to fill in the blanks of the things that we're not being told. And I don't think that you're right with the wild card, but at the end of the day, don't you think it's better to tell the truth so that eventually you can come to a new understanding, a new paradigm, and we don't all have to run around thinking our pants are on fire?
Yes, 1,000%. Yes. I mean, the government has to explain and give its narrative of events. Like, I don't have an expectation that the narrative is going to be entirely honest. That's not what I do expect is that they're probably going to drop certain context on certain things and explain context on others. But the fact is, we don't even know what the government knows, or if the government has a huge amount of information. It's possible that they are in the dark, even though they may know more. Meaning, they may know idea of sightings, they may have idea of capabilities, they may know the physics of the craft, if you're going with Elizondo. So they may know, like, scientific stuff, like, around it. But the details, I don't know. It's unclear to me. And, everybody has this idea about how much the government knows or how much there is over the president and everybody. I have no idea. And I don't think they know either. What I would say is, I agree with your guest, saying, basically, whatever the reality of it is, we're not really going to be able to get that. And the government may not even get that. And whatever the government gives you, it may not even be the full total reality of what they know. I do think it's possible, though, or important to be able to verify what you can verify. Meaning what you can investigate and verify. And I mean that from a scientific level. I mean that from data, details, information, and everything else around it as a way forward. Because otherwise, we stay in the dark. It's almost like you're just kind of piecing back as much as you can possibly get as you move forward. And I don't know if there's anything else beyond that. I do know, yes, the government should come clean. Whatever the narrative that the government is going to put out, it should put it out. And it should have that narrative very clear so the public can know it, at the very least, so it can compete with these quote-unquote charlatans, as we want to call it. So, yeah, I do agree with that. 1,000% agree with that.
Any thoughts, Zac?
Yeah, I have a few. The main thought that I have is, it's like, why now and why...
Right there.
So why is all this happening? And something that I try to remind people about, and I know this is a little bit insensitive to say maybe, UFO Twitter didn't do this.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
They didn't. And yes, they were a part of the story, but if we're looking at this in terms of a chicken and egg scenario.
Yeah, we have no agency in this.
Who did what first, right? So there is a group of people that brought this to the forefront in government. Some of those people have been outside the government, and some of those people have been inside the government. But who brought this thing forward? I can tell you 100% this did not happen as a result of public pressure.
Yeah.
No, because there was none.
So you think it was Christopher Mellon, Lou Elizondo? Like, why do you think this is coming out now? Or do you think this is further orchestrated by the Pentagon?
And who else? So those are the people on the outside. But in order for things to happen on the inside, there would also have to be active, current people inside the government that are also saying, yeah, sure, let's push forward with this. Otherwise, there's no way this would have gotten as far as it did. At least I don't think so.
Because there's no momentum for it. There's no movement.
No momentum.
Get the UFO stuff out. None.
Yeah.
Zero. And
But
so
also-
there had to be somebody internal that said, all right, we want to get this. Because think back to Clinton and her run. It seems like the thought was that Clinton was going to win and that it was going to be hit the press. Clinton was going to say, oh, well, this is here. Public needs answers. In which case, Clinton opens the book. She has there's all the incentive in the world to do so with political will based on what was been released. What Trump went, the information still comes out, but Trump instead space work. He does space work. Now, I don't know if Space Force was entirely connected to the UFO thing, but those things were taking place parallel with one another. And so the information sits out and is just there as a pressure point. But who put it out and why? I mean, honestly, even who does Elizondo work for? And again, I say this, I like Elizondo, so it's not that. It has to do with the ramifications of this.
We lose
forward.
Oh.
And that stuff is in the dark to me. And like, for example, whoever, like, does whatever Elizondo does, is that associated with this disclosure? Like, because think about what I'm asking for the moment. If he is doing something that has a contract, and the contract has something to do with disclosure, is it important and relevant to know who is pushing for the disclosure? I think the answer is yes. I mean, like, I agree with you guys. We have no agency in this. This is something that is basically taking place with us being part of it without necessarily having agency and pushing it. The energy and the pressure seems to be coming from other sources. And
well,
so
it
up.
Well, it has to be, and then I'll pass it back to Zac because I know you had some more thoughts on it. But I think you're right, Zac, because if there wasn't both entities on the inside and the outside, we wouldn't be where we are today. And also, I think the Department of Defense would have nipped this in the bud 3.5 years ago. They would have said, "Nope, there's nothing to see here, folks. Move along." But they haven't done that.
When those videos came out, they could have killed it. They could have said those videos. That's what I keep saying. Like, it's not like, oh, golly gee, we just stumbled upon them. And I don't even entirely know if the Department of Defense is against Elizondo. I mean, every person signed up and said, our name is on this document. Every agency, agency. And if you know that the government has lied for 80 years, would it help lose case to have the Pentagon attack them? And the answer is yes. That's just normal politics, if I'm being honest. And so yeah, I mean, I think there's something more in regards to what they're pushing. And I don't know who's behind it. I don't know who's running the ball. I don't know why they decided to do it now. I mean, is it because there are all of these agencies in space now and they think it's going to be uncovered? I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if that would be enough of a reason to do it now. I mean, so it's like a lot of questions. Also, one more point before I turn it back. Mellon. Christopher Mellon is still pushing the threat narrative. And the document that he released yesterday, I think it was on his Twitter page,
3 days ago,
that basically goes into this notion, full-throated threat. Full-throated threat. Now, the DNI report didn't necessarily hit that bell extremely hard. I started to agree more with your guests when I reread the report after we talked on the show the other day, earlier this week. But they do leave it open as this kind of adversary. But adversary is not entirely defined as something that's on Earth. It's just defined as adversary. Adversary is kind of open as a thing. No, he is hitting that threat narrative, and that is a big, big deal. Like, I mean, imagine for the moment, this is no longer conceptual. Anything that happens, where the public accepts is true, is instantiated into the public, and we're stuck with the ramifications of it. This is not like, okay, we have this conceptual thing of what might happen. No, what happened, happened. And we're stuck with it. And so when Nick Pope is screaming about aliens attacking America, that's a big deal. If Fox News and Fox audience takes that as true because of something that is later verified, that is horrendous. And we would have a hard time unraveling the ramifications of that. And so it's like, I take big qualms with that narrative being pushed. If there's not something to back that narrative up. And if they know something, they need to say something. Because that's problematic to me. That's every bit as problematic as Greer, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I
what do you think, Zac?
Please.
First of all, Jamarl for president.
Yeah, right?
The way that he thinks about this stuff is like, it's such a breath of fresh air. It's exactly.
Well, because I think about it like you, Zac. As I was listening to you, I was like, yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to get you guys together, because I knew it was going to be. I just wish I had 4 hours to really just sift through all of this with both of you, but we don't.
Tomorrow I got to get you on my show. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Jamarl's doing a progressive news show, in Washington D.C. and he takes time out of his day to talk about this because he's genuinely interested. And he's also, but you're also one of the guys that understands that even if the story we are looking for, which is, you know, the confirmation of something intelligent visiting the planet, or version of that, right? But you also understand that, God, if that's not the truth, the other two truths that are floating around there about this are mind-blowing. Yeah.
Well, and that's where I diverge from like Mick West, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because at a certain point, Mick West, I mean, look, if you're a professional debunker, right there, that's problematic, right? I mean, because you're not looking for truth. You're looking for something else. And so I take qualms with that. I take qualms with that. When I have somebody come on my show, there's a guy who came on the show. He says, Donald Trump is Hitler. Now, I don't like Trump, but you're basically...
it's a hyperbolic statement.
Over the top. Yeah, it's so hyperbolic, right? Yeah. And so it's like, I understand this notion of seeking truth. And whether that truth is, it's us or it's not us. Fair enough. And I even understand this notion that the overwhelming majority of stuff is just going to be us. You expect it to be us. And so people who say, okay, that's nonsense, great. But if you're going in it with the explicit intent to debunk, I have problems. Yeah. That's different than what's true. That's all. So I appreciate Wes coming to Jesus with the Nimitz case, Dietrich, and Fravor. Because I think that's the case. Like I said, that's the case that if people were screaming to Congress to say, release the data, release the documents, it would be that. Yeah. Because either something on this planet has done something extraordinary in regards to the technological level they've achieved. And this is not just, okay, one person saw it. No. It's not just two people. No. It's not just, it's like 3 or 4 people were in the air watching a piece of technology do that. You had another ship that basically radioed to get the ship to go in the first place, meaning to divert them to go and see the craft. Meaning you have technology, you have data, recording information, in addition to the human element observing at the exact same time it's taking place. And again, I keep making the point that it may be weirder, the reality of it, meaning consciousness may actually play a role in it. Because in the report, especially when you talk to Elizondo about this stuff, there is human effect. In fact, when Elizondo talked about it, he made the point of saying that the craft ended up in the zone that they were supposed to end up later on, meaning it knew what was in their heads on some level, or it had some kind of information about their data. It was like, that story is so weird and bizarre that it's like the information that we have available to the people who were behind the scenes is enough to say, yes, if we're looking for a story to open the books on for the investigation and scientific study and everything else, it would be that. Yeah. Unless Elizondo has, I mean, there has to be other stuff, but the one that we know of at the least is that.
Yeah, well, and in any version of this, that UAP report that came out and everything else that everybody has come out saying, any version of this is, it's like, we don't have air superiority. Mm-hmm. We're defenseless. What the hell is this story?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And where are the journalists? So forget the aliens. Who cares? The government. Yeah. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Forget the woo. Forget all that. It's like the government just said there's technology in the air. Yeah. And we don't have superiority. Find me any point in the U.S. history when it ever happened.
Well, and how can somebody like Mitt Romney go on CNN and say that very thing and then say, but we don't need to spend our time, energy, money, or interest on it. We need to focus on climate change. And I believe we need to focus on climate change. I'm not saying we shouldn't focus on climate change, but if you know there is technology that is far superior to you and your country, and you're saying, look at the other hand, how is that possible?
It's weirder. I mean, but I think that's the realness. That's the real thing. That's the difference between real and real. It's that. It's like, okay, when I go get a hamburger, well, I know there's a McDonald's. I know that the dollar has a value, even though it doesn't really have a value. Like, I use the dollar as an example. Money doesn't really have any value. It's not real. It's just conceptual. But the government extends its credibility to it, the full faith and credit as the United States, and people feel it. It feels like it has weight. In fact, when you even look at the world, you appropriate it in dollar terms. That truck is expensive. That probably costs a lot of money. And you would have a hard time even trying to appropriate the world in other terms. That's how ingrained it is to us in regards to value.
Damn, Jamarl, fuck, bro.
Well, I guess my point is, the
You're
money
blowing my lid, my dude.
Is real. The UFO thing, despite the fact that the government says it's real, doesn't yet. If the public had a video of something going 1,000 miles an hour and then make a right turn, then public would immediately have their paradigm shift.
Right.
But that's not. It seems like that's not what they even want to do at this point.
Right. We'll start comparing. We'll start comparing every Hummer to a Tic Tac, right? And that'll be a problem.
Right.
This is just. I mean, this is just so. It's so much smoke. It's so damn much smoke.
Yeah.
Let's look at what's in the public realm. Again, no offense to like Jeremy Corbell, but like look at his 3 videos. There's literally nothing on them. It's like there's this thing in the sky that could be bokeh and it has flashing lights, consistent with a plane. Cool, you know. And then there's something that goes into the ocean, but also it could just be going past the horizon. Cool, right? And then there's some lights in the sky that are doing something. And even in the case of the Nimitz videos, right? It's like none of this is great. None of this is like I'm watching this video and I'm going, okay, I'm Lou Elizondo going, this is crazy. I have to get this, I got to talk about this. The evidence in the public realm is garbage. And there's so much smoke being blown over something that, again, as far as the public knows, is garbage. And this is where I don't blame Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mick West, name your villain of UFO Twitter. I don't blame these people. I actually want to continue to have conversations with them. My point is, hey guys, why is the U.S. government gaslighting people, and why are they making these insane statements, and why are they alluding that we don't have air superiority? What is the point of that?
Yeah.
It's like, I agree with you guys. I agree. The evidence, garbage. I totally agree. But also, what are they doing?
Well, real quick. Wait, hold on. Wait, Jamarl, before we answer that question, hold on a second. We got a $14.99 donation. I'm going to get to this question after we reset the room. I will not forget. I promise you, silly humans. Thank you for the $15 donation, by the way. Okay, so let's reset the room real quick. And then, Zac, how much time do you have, my good sir?
I got about 20 minutes.
Okay, great. Excellent. Michael, you want to reset it?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, good God, what are you doing? Make sure you click the subscribe button, click the like. It helps us get this message out to more folks. Thank you so much, Silly Humans, for the super chat. If you have questions for these amazing guests, please feel free to do that. We've got the extraordinary Jamarl Thomas on with us today. Jamarl is a political analyst and host of Fault Lines on Radio Sputnik in Washington, D.C., 105.5 FM, and the YouTube channel of the same name. It's amazing to have you, Jamarl. We call him the filibuster in chief here in UCR. We love him. We're voting for him for president. We've also got Zac Cichy with us as well, who is the creator and host of Project Human FM. Amazing podcast. Make sure you go check it out. Every single episode is top tier. And he's no longer angry on UFO Twitter, so make sure you go follow him.
Go follow him. I'll follow him. Follow him and unblock him. Okay? The time has passed. He's said sorry. He's admitted his wrong. Let's all be adults and follow him. Follow him again. I'll block him.
Specifically, George Knapp, please.
Please, George Knapp. Yeah. Please.
I'm sorry about the thing I did.
Yeah. I mean, understand. He was an angry dude.
I deserved it. I was a jerk.
Yep. It's fair.
Again, make sure you come back and see us next week. We've got an amazing week next week. We've got Lou Elizondo coming on the show. We've got Grant
and
Cameron
his
coming
dad.
On
Lou Elizondo and his dad.
It's gonna be a wild week here on UCR. So make sure we're here 5 days a week, you guys. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, and Thursday on the Singularity Lab. Make sure you pop over there and hit it as well. We've also got the extraordinary Rather Be Squidding, who's joining us right now. He has a YouTube channel as well. Make sure you check it out if you're interested in science, technology, the weird and fringe, but you're looking for it from a skeptical point of view, Rather Be Squidding is your man. Make sure you go subscribe there right now. We've also got one of my dearest friends joining us as well right now. His name is Keith Barkwood. He is actually a friend of mine because we hiked the Appalachian Trail together many, many, many years ago. Keith is also an ex-Marine. He served as in the helicopter squadron MX1, serving 4 years in that capacity, flying with the President of the United States of America. So welcome, Keith.
Oh. Is he muted?
Are you muted, Keith?
I don't know. Am I muted?
Oh, no. There we go.
There we go. Wow.
Just to get it out there, I did not meet Monica.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you did fly with Hillary, right?
Yes. Actually, that was really interesting. The last election, well, not the last one, but that election was like, it's the first time I actually personally knew a candidate. And so when I made my decision, it was kind of cool. Like, I've never had that before.
Right.
And then, of course, the duality. It's like, well, I'm not voting for that person. Well, you're going to vote for the other one. I'm like, no, I'm not voting for either of them. Is it possible that I could like a third person?
Is it possible? Is it okay? No, you must pick one or the other. One of these two must go. Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild concept. Okay, I'm sorry. So before we did that, what was the thank you, Aaron Desario. Jeez,
Aaron
dude.
Desario.
You didn't have to do that. Mike already gave me the money, and so I'm gonna keep this too. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That pretty much makes us even, I think, Michael.
Aaron, you're the man.
Aaron,
though.
you are the man. You are the man. Okay, so there was a question that was about to be answered. I'm sorry I cut that off in the middle there. And then I want to get back to this $14.99 donation because it was in a direct response, and I think to some of what you guys are saying. So yeah, I'm sorry, Zac. What can you remind us again what the question was?
Me?
Yeah, because I think we ended on you. That's okay.
I don't quite remember.
That's all right. I mean, I that's okay. That's fine. Let's continue the conversation
What was the
with this
question
question.
from Silly Human?
So Silly Humans asked, military people have been forthright before, only to have the topic fade away. How are we going to prevent these huge admissions from fading into the fringe again?
Oh, you can't backstep. There's no backstepping them. How do you backstep it?
Right.
I mean, you basically said there's something in our skies that we don't know what it is. It's technology, and it's breaching our military airspace. The government is basically creating an X-Files division at this point. They've headed it with somebody else. There's another report that's expected in 90 days. And the fact of the matter is, the moment that they've thrown us into this notion of national security, you kind of have to explain what it is. Like, I don't think you can get away without explaining what it is, hence the congressional investigation. Now, if Congress comes back and says, okay, yeah, these guys were stoned, the equipment was broken, et cetera, then okay, fair enough. But I think that's a hard backstep. And I don't know how you do that. This just seems different.
Yeah, well, and the only version of this where they get to backstep is they come out and they say, sorry, our entire government is infiltrated by completely batshit allegiance people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, you really have no leaders and there's no adults in this room.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, Jamarl, or anyone really, I mean, you don't think they could just come out tomorrow with some BS report, kind of like in the similar vein of the 9 pages, kind of like what they did with Area 51 and the Project Mogul, and how they were, case closed, boom, stamp on the book even. Look at the book. It's got a stamp, says case closed. See? It's done.
Well, the problem is, that report, the DNI report, has every branch, every alphabet soup agency signed up saying this report is legit and real. Every agency.
Right,
Sure,
but
if they don't follow up on this, if they don't fund the UAP task force, if they defund it, then it de facto dies. Then we don't have anything more.
Well, that's the interesting part. Well, here's the catch: is the government backing the release of this information, or are there factions doing it? Now, if they're factions, then you're right. You could have this thing where one faction says, "Okay, well, fine, you got your task force. I'm going to fund it because I don't believe it, and I think they're demons, et cetera, et cetera." But if it's the government saying, "Yes, we want to have a limited release," and let's say for the moment that the attacks on Elizondo were legit, meaning yes, we want to release it, but that guy's a free radical and he's going to say too much, so we need to kind of undermine that guy. If there are factions, then you might be right. If the government doesn't want to release it, no.
There's certainly factions, right? And the DoD Pentagon factions. I think that's almost irrelevant at this point. There's probably factions that are for and factions that are against. right now, pretty much the only reason that this topic is gaining any more steam since 2017 is because Mark Rubio and Warner made this report happen. And now it's on Congress. It doesn't matter if there's factions in the Pentagon. It's if Congress has the public support to keep on investigating that. I think that's the only path forward, really.
Yeah.
So,
which is why I think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was going to say, so I think that the government's actions, the words of the officials that have come out, and the UAP report all sort of speak for themselves. The only way that this dies is if, in a dereliction of duty, journalists stop asking questions. So if two things happen, right? Two things. The U.S. government sort of starts to drop it, stops talking about it, and then also journalists and the media stop digging and stop caring. Then this dies. That to me was where this would die.
We haven't gotten any new information since 2017, and after that story, I thought, where was the media after there, right? They let it die, and it would have died if not for Congress.
Well, to be fair, though, I'd say 2017, the political winds were way more turbulent than they were today. I mean, look at what's happened to the ratings of cable news. They're dead. They're dead in the water because they don't have something to throw. They're out of Molotov cocktails. They're done lighting everything on fire, and there's no one for them to point at anymore. So now news is just boring old news, and they're dying for something to talk about. So when this topic comes up, like it did in 60 Minutes, that 60 Minutes hit got more views than all of their other videos combined on YouTube. And that was in the first 3 days. I can't even imagine what it's at right now. This media is dying for something to look at that's juicy and meaty and brings eyeballs. And I think they're flirting with it. And I think some of them are waiting for the numbers to come back, and you're starting to see more and more productions into it. I have a feeling eventually, especially if we get congressional hearings, you're going to see an hour-long special on Fox News. Or you're going to see an hour-long special on CNN or ABC or Good Morning America or whatever. Because it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to talk about it. Or what I'm afraid of is I think they could end this tomorrow. Tomorrow they could end this whole conversation and nothing continues. I mean, if they really, really wanted to do that, it could be done. But what were you going to say, Jamarl?
Oh, I was going to say, I wonder, how can we go about agency? Because it feels like it's very strange. It feels like we're bystanders. It feels like something is going on. There's a ball being run. We're interested in the topic and everything else. We want the disclosure, but we feel like, I don't know. It's like, how does whatever we are in regards to group get more agency in this process? Or is it even possible to get agency? Is it just no, by virtue of the process, you're locked out on some level?
I think we're definitely locked out of it. Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like I have a friend who constantly brings up to me, he's like, so you're really into this stuff. You look at it all the time. Yeah, the government's doing this. Yes, it's in the media. But then he gives me this question, which I don't know how to answer, but he'll say, what's to be done here? Yeah. So it seems like whether we want it or not, this is a story that's going to keep going forward. Someone else is pushing this.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Right. My biggest fear is the reporting accuracy. So if this does become something that the news media knows that they can get hits with, they know they can make money with, they know they can get clicks with, what does that do to the quality of the storytelling, the quality of the journalism? Right. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. And so if we start seeing it go in that direction, what happens then? And does this just become a three-ring circus?
Well, no, I think what happens is the same thing that's happening to media right now. Independent media is taking over. For channels like Jamarl's, channels like Burning Points,
to UCR, please make sure you click the bell right now.
No, but the folks are going to be looking for information that doesn't come from the three-letter networks, because they know that for especially the last 8 to 16 years, the news has just been really wishy-washy as far as accuracy, and that a lot of big stories, accurate stories are being broke not by major news media outlets, but by independent journalists who run on platforms like this show with a Patreon, where the audience is the people who fund the research. They fund the point of view, and they're working because their point of views, and a lot of times, end up being more nuanced. They've got way more perspective. They tend to be a lot more like hammer to the nail kind of points, as opposed to these clickable headlines where there's no facts. There's, like the person who's reading you the news is doing exactly that. They're reading it. They've got a whole production team of people doing the research for them, and they just show up a few hours early, you prep their work, and then go in front of camera and start spouting stuff, or reading the teleprompter. With this, we don't do that. With Jamarl's show, there is not, I promise you, there's not any sort of script anywhere near that news program. No. Like you've got Sager and Jetty and Crystal Ball now. They started their own media company, and it's working. It's working because people are resonating with the message because it's true.
Yeah.
Because it's true. There's no hyperbolic bullshit. The American people are exhausted of the bullshit. And that's why this topic is a golden opportunity for the government to really not only straighten the ball or the story with the UAP issue, but they can win a lot of credibility with a lot of other stuff. If they gave us the truth on UAPs, do you think there would be any issue if they came out the next day and say, hey, everybody get your vaccine shot? Like there could be so many things that they can win credibility with where they gain trust, man, where they could come out and they could say something and people would be like, okay, I trust that. It sounds scientifically sound. It sounds like they know what they're talking about. Whereas now, if the government says something, people don't listen.
Right.
And they don't listen because they don't know what's true.
Exactly. And it's because there's so much spin coming out of the government and it's so partisan. And we've created this hellscape ourselves. We're the ones who are literally tuning in to these shows and seeing this come out at us, and it's created this extraordinary distrust. And this is exactly what Zac was talking about earlier. This idea that when you don't tell the truth, when you constantly hide the truth, when you constantly gaslight the American people, your trust is vaporized, and people go to YouTube. People come to us for the truth. That's crazy.
It's crazy. You're crazy.
Or David Wilcock.
Yeah.
Right. Let's be real. Like there are some really bad actors. I mean, Stephen Greer, not as bad as David Wilcock, but still not great.
It's pretty close. Speaking of Stephen Greer, I wanted to get on this before you left, Zac. Maybe get your opinion. I know you got a few minutes left. And it was an official statement from Daniel Sheehan. Did you read this, Jamarl?
Yeah, I saw that.
Put a knife in him. Put
Yes.
a knife in him.
Okay,
Put
so
a knife in him. I mean, squarely put a knife. It says, "This your spine right here, knife twist." I mean, but to be fair though, you shouldn't have put him in your movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Sheehan was very clear. I disagree with Greer. I mean, he said that like a week ago.
Yeah,
and then to add him into your movie to make it look like he's bolstering or backing up your point, and your point is basically saying that his client is a disinformation agent for a false flag attack on the planet Earth. I mean, for God's sake. And it's like, you didn't think that anybody was going to ask Daniel Sheehan, hey, you're backing this guy. Is this true? Well, Sheehan, like I said, like a week or so ago, said this wasn't true. And in that statement, made it extraordinarily clear that that is not his point of view, which means you're stuck with a problem.
right.
Like, Greer lied. He lied. And so it's like, people were like yelling at me saying, oh, dude, you didn't understand Greer. No, I got him quite clearly. He lied. He added Doty into the film, disinformation agent for like decades, which is meaning if you're using Doty to back up anything, you're in problem territory right off the bat. But
Right.
even Doty comes back and saying, yeah, that's not what I meant. No, all of these things are ET abductions. Now, again, we're way off the reservation on this stuff already because we've gone beyond confirmation into aliens abducting people, or for this matter, military, snatching people, and again, using handicapped people, paying them hopefully pretty well, scare the shit out of human beings, frame aliens. Like, this is so far off the reservation.
I mean, yeah, you know shit is bad with how you put together your documentary when
Yes.
Richard Doty is coming out and saying, "Hey,
you.
hey,
Right.
I just gotta fact check you. You misquoted me on the alien abduction stuff." Richard Doty.
Yeah. No, well, I love the statement that he issued. You know, I'm issuing this official public statement to make it unequivocally clear that I do not agree with Dr. Stephen Greer's theory that the recent confirmation by our U.S. Defense Department that a clearly majority of the 2004 to 2017 reports of UFOs are real physical vehicles is part of some secret plan on part of our national security state bureaucracy to stage some imminent false flag fake alien invasion. Nor do I agree with Dr. Stephen Greer's public assertions that Lou Elizondo or Christopher Mellon are part of such a covert plan. But here's the thing
Where's the rub, Lou? Where's the rub?
Well, here's the thing that it's not the rub, it's the smoke that Zac was talking about. Because you've got this attorney who's in a film that is pitching a false flag narrative. The damage has been done. People have seen the movie. Are they going to go back 3 days later and read this statement from Daniel Sheehan? You know what I mean? Like it's very messy with Daniel Sheehan, because in this statement he also says, I believe these are extraterrestrial things. And he also talks about a secret Congress. And we're going to talk about this with Richard Dolan and Melinda Leslie and also Grant Cameron on Monday. This invisible college, this part of Congress that doesn't answer to Congress. Like, it's running its own rules. Like, that's what he put in this statement. So that's where it's like, damn it, man.
Well, I gotta say, I don't think that they took. Oh, go ahead, Jamarl.
No, I was just going to say, it does. I mean, there are elements of overlap between Greer, Elizondo, and Sheehan that, in regards to point of view. I mean, because all of them, for the most part, would accept, intelligence state thinks of things in a particular way, and they act in a particular. I mean, for God's sake, we're in Syria right now. We're all over the globe. We have like 800 military bases. It's like, so how does that look in a context with something else on the map? It's that point, right? And so it's not like they are way off. It's that Greer takes it from that, which kind of makes sense, into false flag attack on Earth. Like, it's such a jump of the shark, and it's like at the point where you don't have anything to back it up, where you have to literally use Richard fucking Doty.
Yeah.
Like you're so way off, and like I said, this is beyond confirmation, right? We're talking about people being used to scare other people to frame aliens. So right off the bat, we're false preservation. But I'm just making the point. He lied and had to edit a video in a way to fabricate comments by people who did not like him in that point of view. I mean, for God's sake, even Jack Prescott, Jack's valet, he used a comment for Valet, and Valet basically was yelling at his producer, saying that you're the reason why I can't put out my documentation.
Right.
It's astonishing. I can't believe Greer did that.
I could see the argument where he got taken out of context, but I don't really think that Sheehan got taken that out of context in this video. And I actually would wager, I'd bet a small amount of money that Sheehan probably saw this documentary before it got public and was okay with it. I'm thinking that he probably only wrote this statement because Elizondo saw the documentary and he probably had a lot of problems with it. And my guess is that Sheehan did not come out with this statement on his own volition. This was influenced by Elizondo.
I feel like that's speculative, right? So, I mean, anytime we're getting into the realm of just like, let's all just guess what happened. I totally see what you're saying, but also that's all just guessing. We don't have a clue. Like, I don't know. Sheehan could be like messaging Greer right now going, you motherfucker, like why did you do it that way? Yeah. Or he could be like, I'm just trying to save face. Who knows? But it would all be speculation and guessing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You know, when all of you watched it and when Sheehan was talking, you know, they did kind of, Sheehan talked once and he mentioned, you know, the government cabal and stuff like that. And it was in the same frame of the movie that they were talking about Elizondo, but I think it was fairly clear that he was not talking about Elizondo in those clips. And then he clarified his position quite literally, and said that he thinks Elizondo is pushing a threat narrative because he doesn't really think it's a threat, but because he thinks Congress needs that threat narrative and Congress needs the public to push that threat narrative. So I think he actually gave a pretty nuanced position that was correct, I think.
I don't doubt that Sheehan came out. He's currently representing Lou Elizondo. I have no doubt, rather, that he came out and said, whoa, you're misquoting me in relationship to his work with Elizondo. I have no doubt about that. I just feel like you're kind of reverse engineering everything else before that.
Well, I mean, does Sheehan have to make a statement when a film like this comes out? If he doesn't make a statement, that to me is strange. Like, that then sort of validates everything that Stephen Greer put on film. Even if his context isn't taken that much out of proportion, through editing and stuff like that. I think it's in his best interest, especially from his legal point of view, to make a statement. To make it 100% clear where you stand, so that way there's no confusion. It is weird that it took him 3 days to do it.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually have to go. So this would be like my last thought. But is it okay for us to acknowledge, all of us in this room, how fucking bizarre it is that Sheehan is representing both Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer? And also, like, Lou, and I love you, Lou, was this like the best decision? I have Sheehan and muddy like this we are having this conversation right now.
Right.
This has muddied the waters.
Right. Well, that's what I told him. I told him that on my show. Yeah. I was like, the hiring of Sheehan is muddying the conversation. It's muddying the waters because it's a conflict of interest. You've got, on one hand, he's been representing Greer for years, almost over a decade, and now he's representing you, and Greer is calling you a false flag narrative and pinning you to the biggest government conspiracy possibly of all time. And then here you are, and you're giving us, the truth, apparently. You're being honest. You're trying to put a narrative out there that isn't speculation or hearsay or woo-woo. You're trying to present it to the American people so they can digest it like an Advil. And Stephen Greer's over here shoving dynamite down people's throats. It muddies the waters. And I asked him, I was just like, was there no other constitutional lawyer in all of Washington, D.C. that couldn't look at this case and kind of and pick up the ball on it, especially when it comes to the the Inspector General aspect of it?
And by the way, Sheehan is good. Like,
yes.
Like all of that, right? Like
he's qualified.
So any reason that Lou is going to say for why he hired Sheehan, like, dude, I totally agree with you. That's not the issue. The issue is that he represents this guy over here who believes in a false flag alien invasion, which is completely antithetical to everything that you do. It's like a specific freaking issue.
Right.
Okay?
But is he...
it's like, anyway.
Is he still representing Greer, though? That I don't know. I didn't get the impression that Sheehan was still representing Greer, and I get that that's kind of outside the point, but still, I think that does matter. And to your point, Zac, I think you're right. He would say, Sheehan was somebody who broke the, he was specific and integral in the Pentagon Papers, right? One of the biggest, lying, one of the biggest cases of the government lying in American history. So, it's tough,
Silkwood, right? Like this guy was involved in some serious stuff. I love Sheehan. I think he's a great lawyer. He's done a lot of amazing work. But if this were me, if I were Lou Elizondo and I'm looking at Sheehan's list of clients and I'm like, okay, even if it was like 10 years ago and you represented him once, okay, I would be like, okay, let's go to someone else.
Yeah,
that's just me.
No, that makes sense.
I'm right there with you, man. Yeah. And the way that people sort of broke it down for me was like, look, nobody outside of UFO Twitter knows Sheehan's relation to Stephen Greer and Lou Elizondo. Like I think we make a big deal out of it because we know all the nuances and the whole story, but on a bigger picture, at least this is the way Elizondo broke it down. He's like, don't get emotional about it. This guy is the best in the game, right? Like he is, like we said, we've already laid his resume on the table. Everyone knows who he is, but it's confusing. It's also insanely confusing. It seems like a terrible PR move.
Well, and if I'm writing UFO fan fiction about like various scenarios that could play out, I couldn't write better, more incredibly ridiculous fan fiction than this. Lou, I agree. I agree with you, but you need to acknowledge and see the kind of absurd side of this. Yeah. Anybody outside looking in is looking at this going, gosh, this all seems like staged at this point because like this is really the move that you made. Again, all love and respect, but I gotta call that particular thing like it actually is. And I feel like we all should, because the number one, look, people are gonna go back and they're gonna look at all this stuff that's playing out right now. And this is absolutely going to be used against Lou Elizondo. I have no question. The media is going to come back. And the more serious this gets, this is now a muddied water situation. People are going to go back and say, but look at what Lou did.
I think they're going to go back and they're going to say, this is something like, look at his attorney. Look who he represents. You know, it's something that they're going to use to discredit him. I agree with you 100%. And I'll say this as the last thing. If this statement from Sheehan had said, also, I no longer represent Stephen Greer, it's a completely different statement.
Yeah.
I think maybe then it adds more clarity. It takes a little bit of the mud out of the water. It's still muddy, but it's not as muddy. And because again, Michael, you keep asking this question, does he still represent Greer? He hasn't said he doesn't. You know, so that's the part that is, it's creepy. It's weird. So with that said, Zac Cichy, thank you so much for so much of your time today, man. Thank you for taking the 7-year first break sabbatical from not doing live interviews and doing it here on this show. I cannot appreciate you enough, dude. Your work is fantastic. Your voice is so important. I'm glad that you've apologized to UFO Twitter. I hope this helps open the arms back up and unblocking of folks. I got my first block in the last month, so I feel you. It hurts. It hurts so bad. So check out Zac Cichy, Project Human FM. His links are in the description below. Zac, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? And also, I got one last question. Would you be interested in doing the Big Phone Home 2 with us, having a conversation on that one of a couple days that we're doing?
100%, I'm down. So I wanted to be involved in the first one, man, and there was just a lot of
stuff going on.
I was moving. I had stuff going on with kids.
Don't say no more, man. I know exactly what was going on. 100%. We had a lot of. I love it, man. Down. I'm so happy we made this connection, dude.
Me too, man. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope we can do it again sometime. And honestly, I'd like to get you on my show. I'd like
anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime, my friend. All right, dude. Well, expect me to bug you more.
Cool.
Cool. You Great said cool. You heard it. All right, Zac. We'll see you soon, bud.
All right, later.
Peace. Yes. Whew. Okay. Wow. We're gonna blow through the reset, okay? Because we're almost 11 minutes past it.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes.
Are we?
20 minutes home. 20
minutes till home. Yeah. Okay. So let's go over. We had a couple of donations. I want to just address these. So Axel Christopher Solvang.
This is Norwegian. This is Norwegian.
Norwegian. Oh, by the way, I just watched the Norwegian show Ragnarok. Awesome.
Norwegian? Is that
awesome. Yes, it is a Norwegian show. It is so good. I blew through both seasons in 2 days, I think. It was so cool. Okay, so
I think they're going to start giving you some more Norwegian money never to do that accent again, but we'll see.
We'll see. Who knows? Change and transformation in a group or team is often driven within itself. UAP issue is a huge transformation of all humanity. How would this roll out realistically? I believe this will take a long time. I agree. Yeah, I think it is going to take a long time. I mean, we say on this show a lot, And I don't know what the legalization of marijuana is in Norway, but here it's legal. But it took 25 years. Well, in California it is. Right. It's a recreational drug here in the state of California. But my point is that it took 25 years to get here today. And pretty soon, eventually, I think the United States is going to fall in line with the recreational tag on this stuff, just like a 6-pack of beer. It's coming, but it took a long time, a lot of senators, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of people getting arrested, a lot of people being marginalized, a lot of people being pigeonholed and lost their lives, their fortunes to get to where this is today, just for medical marijuana, just to recognize it as an actual drug that is not a heroin or cocaine. What were you going to say, Rather?
Well, I think that will get us kind of to the point where we are now within, accepting the phenomenon as a reality and discussing it, but we have no idea where the end point on this is, right? Like if it's actual intradimensional beings, God, I don't know how long it'll take me to internally accept that. You know?
Right. That's a great point.
No, it's true, man. Like, again, I think, and maybe here's a question. Let me just, but real quick, show us your calamari, Rather.
I haven't been to the squitting docks for a while. I've been too busy reaching for UAP.
I don't think he means that calamari, Rather. Anyway, thank you, Ben, for the $5 donation. Well, what I was going to ask you guys is, and I'll give you a second to think about it. I'll lay out my scenario, which I think would be the best way to do it. How do we let's say, again, let's just do the speculation of, let's keep it simple. It's alien, okay? It's from another planet. It's figured out how to get from here to there in literally no time. It can spend space time. The technology is out of this world. They have made it clear that they're real. The reports have all said it. The Navy and the Department of Defense, nobody can deny it anymore, right? So how do they express that to the world or the American people specifically? What is the best way, right? Do you do it through what do they call those with the president's State of the Union? Do you do it where he does it from the Oval Office? What do they call? Why am I forgetting the name of that?
The Oval Office.
An address. An address to the nation, where the
State
president. Is that no? Well, the State of the Union is where he goes to Congress and does it in front of Congress, right?
Right.
But the one where he see, if he's got an important message, like for example, when they waged war against Iraq, President Bush did it from the Oval Office. He did it as like this statement in prime time to the American people. Here's a message from the President of the United States where it blares on all TVs. Right. Do they do it like that? Do they do it through a report? Do they do it through Neil deGrasse Tyson? I mean, what's the best way to do it? And my idea, just so you guys can think about it for a second, unless you already have answers, is I would say, and I've said this before, like a late night talk show. Like ideally Jon Stewart or Jimmy Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel actually has a vested interest in this. He actually is curious. But I think a late night talk show, an hour long, with the President of the United States discussing the reality of this topic with the American people in a way that is lighthearted, so it doesn't scare anybody, but it lays clearly, hey, this is real, pay attention. What do you guys think?
Go for it.
I don't think they would release it at all. I think the government, based on what we've seen them do in the past, they're going to hold this as close to their shirt as they can. We've seen things like the attack on Pearl Harbor. We knew about that,
Keith, but that's not the scenario. Remember the scenario I laid out. This thing is
how they're going to roll it out.
Let's just say that the scenario is it's real. They've confirmed it, and that these things are no longer going to be in the shadow. This is not going to be. They're going to make themselves known. Let's say 2 weeks.
You're saying if the government if the president made this decision to have this conversation with the American people, is that
Correct.
What you're saying?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Let's say the decision's been made because their hand is being forced.
That conversation gets leaked to the media long before the president gets a chance to say.
That's a good point.
Someone's going to leak that. There's going to be unquoted sources from the White House confirm that that story is going to come out days before the press release ever makes it.
Okay, so you think that's kind of they would do that, so they would lay the groundwork by leaking it themselves to a reporter and then coming out and saying it?
Of course.
Okay. I think my problem with this scenario is that, like, is it what sort of alien species is it? Are there multiple alien species? Are they good? Are they bad? Are we the zoo and they're the keepers? Like, I think it matters.
Are we cattle?
Okay, all right. Let's just forget about the end of let's forget about the Independence Day scenarios for a second. Let's just. Okay, it is literally the script for District 9. Have you watched that yet, Michael?
I haven't yet. No.
Jesus Christ. So
I'm finding out in this short time I've been spending with Michael, he doesn't watch anything. Every good show, I'm like, hey, have you watched? He's like, no. I'm like, hey, have you? No. It's just constant.
Well, that's terrible for this show because we're kind of a pop culture show, Michael. Stop moving the boxes, damn it.
But to answer your question, though, Lou, I think that Keith might be hitting the nail on the head, and maybe we're seeing that right now. Hopefully, right? But I think that if it was a scenario where the U.S. government knows and no one else does, my guess is that they would probably disseminate that to other world governments first and kind of have a more global disclosure. I don't think that's going to be just the United States giving a press conference. I think it's going to have to be a worldwide disclosure and worldwide.
Right.
The terrifying wag the dog scenario is, we look at pop culture, we look at all the movies that are coming out, and it's like, okay, are these prepping us for the eventual release of this information? And if that's the case, that's terrifying because we end up fighting and getting our ass kicked by all these guys. And I don't want that to happen. The thing I've been trying to circle back to, I was chewing on my nails earlier before I was able to join, was the irresponsible and dangerous side of it. Is it irresponsible for the government to withhold this information? Is it dangerous? Michael has said a couple of times we're going to get fringe conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Like, do they do any danger? Do they do any harm to the collective humanity? I don't think they do. It's probably a very small percentage of us that believe in that type of thing, that go off on the far conspiracy. But the irresponsible thing, like, let me ask you guys right now, if they came out today, if the president made a live speech and said, hey, aliens are real, are you going to go to work tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. But I understand what you're saying. And it makes sense. It depends on what the scenario is, right? Because if they just land and say, "Hey, how's it going? This is us. All right, we'll see you in a couple thousand years. Bye." Then no, everybody goes to work the same, tomorrow. But if they land and they say, we're here to invite you to version of Congress, but for space, like
it's the Galactic Federation.
This is a Galactic Federation. Here's our technology. Here's how we do it. Here's a ship. And they do it to everyone, every government, every race, every religion. So everyone's on the same page. It's a fun scenario to think
If it's like that, if it's the Vulcans showing up and being like, we've accepted you now into the Galactic Federation, like, it doesn't matter how you release it. It's going to be dope. Like, you can't stop the
But do you go to work the next day if that happens? That's the thing.
No. Why? Who would go to work? Why would you go to work? Nobody goes to work. You're done. That's it. We got free energy. We got unlimited energy. We're gonna, so that would be the fear. That would be the scenario. But if that were the case, if that were the reality that we were about to step into, if it was the Vulcans or whatever showed up, they would be like, okay, we've done this like to 20 other 1,000 planets. We know how to roll this shit out. We don't have to roll this out. The alien species will roll it out for us.
Right. The flip side of that is, it's like, okay, here's the press release. Yeah, we figured out these aliens. They're probing us because they want us for appetizers. I'm not going to work tomorrow. Like, I'm going to go hang out with my wife and kid, and look at the sky.
Right.
That's a good point.
And then that stops the whole global economy. So is the irresponsible thing to release this or not? Or do you think about the government? Do they willfully release information? No. And if you want to know why it's now, let's look at what this hand's doing, right? They're telling us, okay, here's your report. What's going on back here? So that's something else is happening. That's why they're releasing the information now. They don't want you to look at something else. And do you believe for a second that the government pays $500 for a hammer? No, they pay they pay $10 for a hammer, and $490 goes towards making ninjas and
Black Ops.
spaceships and all kinds of cool stuff.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. I like ninjas.
Space
Yeah, I
ninjas
think-
do sound cool.
Yeah, I'm all for space ninjas, but I think that's probably a more likely scenario that if there is disclosure, that it's just going to be disclosure that there are things in the skies, and we're not going to get any more answers. It's just going to be, hey, there's weird shit. It's probably been happening for millennia, and hey, deal with it. We
Right, but we don't
have any answers.
What's the best way to convey that message to the world? That's I guess the core of my question. How does that message get conveyed?
And you could say that
and that's what TTSA
did that with
said
the UAP task force report. That's telling us that.
Right.
Right, and I mean, this is what TTSA was saying the whole time, right? They were like, we know we need to release it into the pop culture. I think the problem with our alien pop culture is what you were saying earlier. It's all Independence Day. Every fucking movie is literally about the destruction of the human species from aliens. And I know it's not everyone. I know you're gonna bust out like 3 or 4 that aren't, but the majority are. My favorite being Explorers. By the way, I brought this up to you guys the other day. If you haven't seen Explorers, it's amazing. It's a 90s movie.
I actually watched it a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's basically the idea that these aliens have been learning about us through our pop culture, our media, our songs, our movies. And they showed up and they were like trying to talk to us as if we were these characters from these movies. And it was just,
But what's more hilarious about the concept is that the aliens that were contacting us were teenagers. Like they were teenagers who stole their dad's spaceship and started communicating with another intelligent species, convinced them to go find their ship. When we get to their ship, they get caught by their dad. We're so insignificant, and that's what was cool about the film. It's like, wait a second, they got communicate. Like, can you imagine if the communication we're receiving is the teenagers of the aliens you know what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine? Like, could you imagine if it was a pizza delivery truck or car? Like, that's the significance of what we're communicating with. Oh, you guys are talking to Ted. Yeah, he delivers pizzas through the galaxy, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Well, and the really scary thing is if it's that kid that's infatuated with the ants, not because he's really interested in how they evolve, but in how to fry them with the light of the sun, that would be concerning as well.
Well, let me add.
The reality, though, Lou, is it's us. It's our version of the aliens that are going to contact us. The other ones, they're making alien waffles and driving their alien cars. It's exactly us. There's a podcast right now on another planet of 4 guys talking about
That was funny. Somebody commented earlier, if aliens take DMT, do they see humans? That's my favorite.
Oh my God. That is so funny. Like, it's funny, but let me ask you this, and this will be the last question, then we'll get out of here and go enjoy the weekend. And thank you guys for sticking around. Honestly, 200 of you guys in the chat. It's been a lot of fun. Share, like, subscribe if you've enjoyed the conversation today. Every view, every like helps, especially if you can't support the show financially, which is cool. But if you can, check out the Patreon. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. End on this. Would it be disappointing if we learned that whatever we're going to come in contact with is just as complicated, just as racist, just as divisive, just as messed up, just as consumed by fake news as we are? Would that be a bummer? Like, if it wasn't like this all enlightening, here's our technology, here's how we travel the stars, here is a perfect political system, here's how to treat everyone equally and make sure nobody's angry, and here's how to feed everyone. Instead, they came down and were just like, all right, here's the brochure to join the Federation. Here are the different factions. I recommend don't go toward the megalons. They're really, really weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, would it be a bummer if that was the case?
I don't know. I mean, Star Trek was kind of built on that entire model, right? It was like, we've got all of these different factions. We've got all of these different species. They're all, for some reason, anthropomorphic. But
they've all hung up on issues, right?
they're all hung up on issues, and it's like, you know, Star Wars was, I mean, they were talking about race issues in using alien civilization metaphors and analogies, right? And I thought it was really profound the way they did it, you know, over the years. But I think that's what ultimately we don't understand, because we anthropomorphize everything. We make everything into human-like beings, like, right? And it's like, is that how that would work? Probably not. Like, every being would evolve differently on a different planet.
You would think so, right? But the thing, I can only use Earth as our example, but Earth has our solar system has a really good knack of repeating itself. The way organisms form, the way rocks form, the way clouds form, the way,
animals have two eyes.
There's a pattern to things. You know, like it seems like there's a really nice repeatable pattern.
Yeah, but we've only got the data point of Earth, and that's the problem.
Right. Well, but that's all we can use as of right now, until we get this new satellite that Plane was talking about.
Oh, the James Webb Telescope?
The James Webb Telescope, yeah.
Which is going to be rolling out here very soon. It's going to tell us a lot about our galaxy. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. Jason Faye, thank you for the $9.99 donation. Says, great episode, you guys. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
I might buy a slice of pizza with that $10, dude. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
We're about to head to a soccer game right now.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Rather, what do you think? Would it be disappointing if it was basically all the same issues of humans, but into these visitors?
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that we aren't at the peak of societal and emotional evolution, and it would be pretty disappointing to figure out that we are. So, yeah, I'd say it'd be a huge disappointment.
What about you, Keith?
I think most disappointing for me would be if it isn't aliens coming from another world. It's just us coming back in time to try and unscrew ourselves up.
That would be disappointing?
I don't know. Aliens are kind of cooler than humans coming back.
I mean, what? I think those are both cool, bro. Those are both cool. Ryan Sprague in the house, dude. Thank you for being here. Says $9.99 slice of pizza. Are you back in New York City, bro? No. I will take that $9.99, buy one slice, and then save the, I would say around $6 for something else. Okay, so a slice and a Coke. There you go. And a tip. Slice Coke and a tip. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Sprague corrected me on my
I don't know. Anyway. I'm not against the future humans. I think it would be interesting because maybe they're not coming back to fix things, but they're just interested in it's almost like virtual tours, like you're just going back to see your ancestors.
I mean, if you had
I really want the lights involved, right? I want to know how they are crossing these great distances of time and space.
Right.
And the time travel doesn't solve that. So I guess for me I don't get that satisfaction.
Warp drive solves it, motherfuckers.
Warp drive. All right, you guys. Dude, that was a fun day. That was a fun conversation. I appreciate you meeting you, Keith. Appreciate you stopping by, bud. That was fun. I'm glad you got to hang out, Rather. Can you start our music, Rather?
I certainly can.
All right, cool. All right, so is there, Keith, any final thoughts on the discussion today?
This is good stuff. I was kind of out of the loop on most of it, but I was able to follow along, and I appreciate you guys including me here. And I'm going to start drinking beer with my buddy.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Sounds like a plan. All right, well, Keith, go start cracking beers, buddy. Thank you.
For those of you people were asking earlier about the Appalachian Trail. So Keith and I actually met on the Appalachian Trail 17 years ago.
And 21 years ago.
21 years ago. Jesus Christ. Wow. 21 years ago. And we met on the Appalachian Trail. We did about 800 miles together. We didn't complete the whole thing. And then we ended up hitchhiking together to a yoga ashram in Buckingham, Virginia, where we worked on the yoga ashram for 2 months, met Swami Satchidananda, who was at Woodstock. Dude.
Mary, where was Kristen? Where was Kristen for this?
I hadn't met Kristen yet.
I thought you met her right out of high school, basically. I thought she was a high school sweetheart.
Kristen saved him from
going. No, Kristen saved him from going the other way on the Appalachian Trail.
Dude. Wild shit, man. Wild shit.
That's awesome. All right, Keith. Well, anytime you're in town, dude, more than welcome to stop by. Thanks for being here.
It's interesting being on the kitty corner of the coast.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. All right, we'll see you soon, bud.
As far away as we can get.
Oh yeah, from Alaska to Florida.
From Alaska to Florida. Yeah, no, that is true. That's the corners, basically the corners of the country. Rather be squidding, sir. What are you doing this weekend?
I'm reading a cool book, Big Bang in a Little Room, trying to influence my next Rather Be Squidding video. Hope to be out Monday about building a baby universe.
Whoa, building a baby universe. What would you name it?
That's a good one. Squid.
No, that's anticlimactic.
Not
gonna lie.
Yeah, sorry.
Not gonna lie. I mean, really?
I like squid.
Show us your little squid. Show us your little squid.
Yeah, here's my baby squid. All right, Rather. Well, we appreciate all of your help this week. It's been a wild one, my friend. We'll see you on Monday. Monday's going to be a big one. Monday's going to be a fun show. So,
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, strap on for that one. All right, buddy.
See you then.
Later, Rather. Thanks, brother. I just wanted to respond to KK Nichols. I know that place. Was it Yogaville? Yes, it absolutely was Yogaville. And they were not happy that we actually hitchhiked there. And then we were like, we have nowhere to go. Can we stay? And they were like, no. And then we were like, please. And they were like, fine.
That's awesome. Real quick, $10 donation from G West Lou. If you ever find yourself on the west side, you have to try the pizza and beer at a slice and a pint in El Segundo. Very good stuff. Great episode. Dude, I will definitely do that next time in El Segundo. Every time I hear the city, El Segundo, or drive through it, immediately Tribe Called Quest pops in my head. I just don't want to leave my wallet in El Segundo. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to leave your wallet in El Segundo.
Definitely don't
100%.
want to do that. Definitely don't want to do that. Well, dude, I appreciate it. I'll definitely check out the pizzeria because I'm always looking for a good slice. Michael Mataluni.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you haven't subscribed, I mean, what are you doing with your life? Take control of your destiny. If you want to be informed when we go live, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, hit that bell. Click the subscribe button. And make sure, don't forget to pop over to the Singularity Lab where we go live Tuesday and Thursday with Big Louise.
And hey, by the way, I did a poll today. I did a poll. Let's go ahead and read the results of the poll. So we had 198 votes. Fry-yay or fry-nay? That was the poll. Fry-yay or fry-nay? Yep.
What was
88%. 88%. Fry-yay.
Fry-yay.
Yeah. Instead of Friday, Fry-yay.
Right. 20% of the people don't like the weekend? Is that the idea?
Well, who knows? Maybe 12% is working on the weekend. It's more of a Friday for them, you know?
Great point.
You know? And real quick, guys, I also put my Patreon link in the chat, so you guys could click on that if you want to help support the show. Remember, we are a public access channel. We are supported by viewers like you. We've got merch coming. I've been working for the last 2 days on merch. Hoodies, tank tops, V-necks, hats, iPhone case. I don't think I'm going to do a backpack. Just seems ridiculous. But any children's shirts, all of it. It's coming. It's coming. So just be patient, you guys. I'm hoping to have that done here in the next week or two. And then I was going to probably launch it the same day. We give you all of the details for the Big Phone Home 2. We're building up a guest list. We're going to start making some phone calls to see who wants to join us. I already pitched the idea. Danny Silva. Because I just heard him on a show on Disclosure Team right before our show, and he's like the young guns, you know, Silva, Joe Murgia, UFO Jesus, and who am I forgetting here? Who am I forgetting in the young guns there? Rather. Who am I forgetting? Harvey. There you go. Perfect. That was perfect. We almost nailed that joke out of the park, dude. Oh, we're so close for this show to being such a well-oiled machine. So I'm gonna try and get the young guns, get like a 2-hour conversation, because you guys,
I love it.
The Big Phone Home, just a little clue, the Big Phone Home 2 is not gonna be one day. It's gonna be more. So stay tuned. The details are coming. Thank you guys so damn much. Artemis, thank you for the show help. That is our intern. Thank you so much for all the help you provided during the week. Want to say thank you to all of our fans. Want to say thank you to BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. Want to say thank you to DOS Tapes, who provide all of the sync jams that you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Don't forget to check out Michael's channel, The Singularity Lab. We are there Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Ring the bell, share the show, like the channel, subscribe. Thank you all so damn much. Have a killer weekend, and be safe out there. Peace.
So get your friends together, come around to the